but I appreciate everybody going back to the Zoom format for now. Partly because a little concerned about the COVID surge and we don't have a mask mandate going on right now. And the other part is I broke my leg or my kneecap.
Your kneecap.
So I actually.
That's
it's
a
very
long
difficult
haul.
to drive. It's
That's
very
gonna be
difficult to drive.
That's gonna be a long haul for you, lady.
It's 4 to 6 weeks in this lovely brace.
Plus therapy.
Oh man, let's not even get into that. So,
My God.
anyway,
Collecting packages. Oh my God.
I have to have somebody drive me around. So, you know, when we set the next meeting, if I can get there and depending on where the surge is at the time, then we'll think about that. But we've got a long agenda. It's mostly just discussion points tonight. So I just want to dive right in. There was a working group meeting this morning, which I did not attend, with the new ITA, Bob or Robert Fennessy, whom I've not met yet, but I will, hopefully in the next week or two. And I believe Savory went to that meeting. Pat, you did not, right? Can I hear you?
Yeah, he's unmuted. No, he's got a problem with his mic, I guess. He must have connected without using the computer video.
Wi-Fi. That sounds more like a me thing right now.
Yeah.
But Savory, why don't you go ahead and give us a brief update of what went on today?
Okay, so we met with an enlarged group of people today, along with the usual suspects who Pat is aware of, which are the chief of the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, Eric Germain, Mark Townsend, Ellen Blanchard, the chair of the Board of Assessors, and the interim town administrator, which in this case today was Bob at his first meeting. In addition to those regulars, we had Elaine Weston, Sarah Hewins, Mike Ryan, who's the EMS chief, Tom Walsh, who is the emergency services director, is that right?
Yep.
I think. Chief Dufely, Joe, I don't remember his last name, who is the new town assessor, and the deputy police chief Sherry. So we had a full house today, and basically we spent the first half of the meeting giving an overview to Bob, the new ITA, of what this project was all about. He didn't say much. He was taking a lot of notes, which was a good thing. So I think as we get more into these meetings, he will get more involved. He was notified that in the past we had been using Rick LaFond as our go-between with Hillwood for quite a few of the issues. Rick was in direct contact with Mac Utzi, specifically regarding the financial impact statement, which no one still has seen. But we wanted to establish, at least with Bob, that was a role that Rick had. And he didn't say much about that, but he acknowledged that was something that he would be able to take on. He did say he was a quick learner and a good listener, which is important right now. So we gave Bob an overview of what was going on. I gave an overview about the article that we're presenting, which is zoning, and then that conversation kind of veered towards other issues that residents would be concerned about, and that brought up the traffic issue. And I'm not going to go in the order of the meeting, but the traffic issue, Sarah Hewins brought up the fact that she felt uncomfortable as a select board member, even voting to bring this article to the town warrant without an answer on traffic. But there is no answer on traffic, and we certainly aren't going to get one. So that was a little bit surprising and potentially problematic. What both the chief of the fire chief and I tried to explain to everybody there is that this is, again, this is not a yes or no vote. It's a good for Carver, potentially bad for Carver, but something is going to go there. And it is better for us to have control over what goes there than to be at the whim of our current zoning laws that will allow lesser projects to be built there with no oversight and no benefits to the town. So I don't know if Sarah heard that. I mean, I know she heard it. I don't know if she heard it. The fire chief went over all his mitigation comments with back and forth with Hillwood, you know, telling him we're telling the new ITA where Chief Weston stood. The chief had last reached out to Hillwood just before Sharon, the chief, and I presented an overview to the select board before Christmas, and the chief has not heard a word from Hillwood since. The chief did send back the mitigation agreement with his comments and is waiting for replies on his comments from Hillwood. It's been 2 weeks. He hasn't heard anything. He's a little disappointed that he hasn't, but he was willing to give that a little benefit of the doubt due to the holidays. You know, that's something that Hillwood needs to do, is they need to get back to Chief West, and even if it's not with answers, at least touch base with them, say, hey, we're working on it. So that line of communication, is, as we all know, is very necessary to keep going. The police chief he'd never seen the MEPA report, and when we got around to the traffic discussion, the chief stated, and this is something that Sharon and I found out from Stephen Cole within the last week or so via email, because we asked Stephen to check into this. Route 58 is a state highway, and there's nothing the town of Carver can do to outlaw trucks going up and down. There's no, we can't put in an order of conditions for the special permit that Hillwood has to force the drivers to go east-west. We can put in something that would suggest that, and maybe there are incentives that the tenant can do to try to enforce that, but the police can't stand at the corner of Purchase Street and pull over every truck that has a Walmart sticker on it, if that's, you know, the case. It's a state highway and therefore is free to anybody. So, and Sharon and I knew that from Stephen Cole, and the chief reiterated that today, that there's nothing he could do about that. He did mention the fact that that he does not have staffing right now to man at any time a checkpoint for trucks to determine if they're within the law as far as their, I guess their, you know, if their truck is safe, if their load is correct. You know, which was something else that had been brought up at the meeting. The chief also brought up, the police chief, Chief Dufely, also brought up during the course of conversation the fact that when he had initial conversations with Hillwood 3 or 4 months ago, which were the last conversations he had with them, he brought up to them, based on the size of the building buildings that they're proposing, that there needs to be some thought about a potential active shooter situation. And Hillwood replied to him that they'd never had another town ask about that. And Chief Dufley said, well, doesn't matter what other towns do. It's something that in this day and age, we have to be cognizant of. So I know that Hillwood is aware that they need to reach out to the other emergency services in town. They have to reach out to EMS. They have to reach out to the police department and talk them through any kind of situations that they may be concerned about. And that would be, all of emergency services as well. We also mentioned that as soon as the chief and Hillwood reach their mitigation agreement, that will probably determine the situation with water in the town, at which time it's probably necessary to bring in the North Carver Water District. I think bringing them in now is a little premature because we don't know what they're going to have to provide or what Hillwood will be providing back to us for them. The Board of Health probably doesn't need to be involved right now because they don't have anything to do really with the zoning issues. When we get to, either way, after the special permit after the zoning is voted yes or no, whatever's going to be built there still has to go through the special permitting process, unless it's one of the 8 or 9 things that can be built by right. It's really at that point where the permitting, where the Board of Health gets involved, and so it's a little early in the game, I think, for them to be involved at this point. Let's see what else. Sharon and I talked about it earlier. Is there anything that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay.
Those were all the notes I took while you were talking.
Okay, good. I remember the
And
same thing twice in a row. An hour apart.
You did it really well. Those were all the notes that I took. I did, after we spoke, I did email Mac Utsi and advised him of, what had happened at the working group meeting, which is something I generally do, and told him of the concerns about emergency management services and regular emergency services and the police chief. And he indicated that he would be getting back to them immediately.
Good.
Yeah, so.
Did you talk to Mac about the fiscal impact?
I did. I meant to copy you on the email. I did. I mentioned, I think, 4 points, and one of them was, where is the fiscal impact study? Because we need to review it and for clarity and, correctness. And so that we can format it as part of our PR. And when he emailed me back about talking to the 3 chiefs, and I also mentioned about getting back to Chief Weston, he didn't mention that part. So I'm due to talk to him tomorrow. We usually do a phone call after our meetings.
Okay.
So I will mention it to him again.
All right. One of the things that Mark Townsend mentioned today at the meeting was that if we are not satisfied with the fiscal impact statement or are not provided with a draft of it, then we have to talk to Hillwood about hiring our own person to do one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this since August.
Yeah, we met with Judy Barrett in August. Yes.
Yep. So this is, and this I don't believe was dropped through our cracks. This wasn't something that, I know Rick was providing information back and forth and there was some disconnect there for a few months. But this wasn't our doing, but it's information that we need. And we didn't contract for our own because we would simply vet the one that they gave us. But if that's going to be the case, we need to have this ASAP. And I don't know, it's something that our assessors can take on or FinCom can take on or anything of that nature.
Okay. I think that just in thinking about what you're talking about, obviously that was something that Rick was taking care of, and Rick was holding the cattle prod to Hillwood. Where is this thing? even though they may not have had it themselves. I think that in the next few days, I know that you're meeting with Bob tomorrow. You're going to try to meet with him tomorrow?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna try and set a meeting for next week.
For next week?
I
I'm
was
wondering-
giving him the week to meet with other heads of state
Okay.
before I come flying in there, but I was going to contact him tomorrow. Elaine just sent out his email a little while ago.
Right, I did see that. I was just thinking that we should maybe set up a Zoom call with Mac to introduce them to each other.
Oh, okay. I'll
Because,
look into
I mean,
it then.
Bob did say that he was going to take on the role of being somewhat of a liaison.
Okay,
So he and Mac should know each other and at least have a televised hello.
okay, I'll check with Mac to see when he's next coming into town, because I think it's
Okay.
kind of sometime in January.
Okay, that works too. That's fine.
I'm making notes, so just
All
keep
right.
going.
I think that's it.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a productive meeting. I think we still have some work to do, obviously, on the PR section, which segues nicely into our next thing. I know that Paul said that he had just come from the dentist, so he may not be able to update us entirely. But do we have, I mean, I've been reading the FAQs, and how are those formatting still? Are they still in progress? I mean, I read the last batch of them.
Yeah, I think they came on Friday.
Yeah.
I had company over the weekend and they were here
Oh,
for,
you want to do something other than this? Come on.
they were here for 2 nights. It was like they were here for a week. And I've been cleaning up ever since and taking Christmas down, and I have not had a chance to read them yet. We were supposed to have a meeting Monday morning, but evidently consensus has been stricken with COVID.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And the meeting was, actually, it was never scheduled. It was talked about last Tuesday. We met on the 28th, I guess, the Tuesday after Christmas,
Mhm.
and set a meeting date for yesterday morning at 10, and then no Zoom information, nothing ever came. So I sent an email to or a text to Owen yesterday at 9:45 and said, "Where's the meeting notification?" And he wrote back saying, "We can't have one today. There's COVID issues." So we're
Okay.
going to try to have one later this week. I have not heard anything from him. I was waiting till the end of this meeting tonight to reach out to him again. But I have to go
Yeah,
through.
I copied them all onto this meeting in case they were available.
Okay, I think that we should probably. I mean, we were pretty close on what we wanted to do when we talked on the 28th. So I think, Paul, I know I owe you some things. I owe you some text for a couple of the pages. I think from the FAQ standpoint that you could probably start putting in what's there, what we got on Friday from Owen.
Yeah, it'll be in there functionally anyway. So I
Okay.
mean, we'll be able to, and then we can figure out how to sort it or how to rank them or how you want
Okay.
to work it from there. You just
Right.
lead the way.
Okay, yeah, but you can start loading them in, and then we can identify how and where people can access them. One of the things with our meeting last Tuesday, the 28th, with consensus, there was a lot of back and forth. Patrick Fox, who is the head of consensus, he and I have what did he call it? Paul, a different philosophical bent on this. He's concerned about information getting out that will become ammunition for the anti-forces, if there are any. I'm of the opinion that information is going to be out there anyway, so we might as well address it now rather than later.
Well, we may as well be the purveyor of the information.
Yes. So I think at the end of our meeting, we were kind of on the same page with all of that. There were a lot of categories that Hillwood wanted to own as far as answering questions on their own website. And I kind of said that becomes a question of credibility. Not that your answers are incorrect, but if it's coming from Hillwood, it's different than if it's coming from us.
Right.
The same answer has two different meanings coming from the two groups.
Yeah.
So I said,
Oh,
I don't
exactly.
mind you. I said, I don't mind you having questions and answers on your site, but they are going to be on our site too. And both the questions and the answers need to be vetted by us before they appear anywhere. So I think we were okay on all that. He wants to have a top 10 FAQs, which I agreed to, but I said that we still have to have categories of FAQs so people don't have to scroll through everything.
Yeah,
And that even the top 10, they are going to be categorized so that they still appear under the specific categories. So it'll, if your question is important enough to make the top 10, you'll find it under the top 10, which is going to be a list on the left-hand side of the page. But if it's about the water tower, you'll be able to click on water tower on the right-hand side and still find the same question and answer. So if you want to get there more quickly. So
Savory, would the top 10 be sorted by how many people clicked on certain questions and then they rise to the top, or?
no, I don't think so.
So
It's not that I don't think so. No, I think it's going to be more in the order of what you would think logically people would ask.
Okay,
All right, starting with the
Yep.
more general questions and breaking it down a little bit.
Okay.
One of the things we decided to do was remove the eminent domain question for the time being.
Yep.
From the top 10. It's still going to appear under the project FAQs, but there were enough other questions that had a greater weight at this point, because I think everyone knows that eminent domain has not been used. So that's where we stand with that. So as soon as I'm hoping that we can do something. I know we talked about next Monday. That's probably a bit of a dream, but I'm hoping to get something up next week. Just so people can start going to it and clicking on it.
if you have that meeting with consensus and if it's on Zoom, can you let me know?
I will.
Okay, thank you. Are you all set, Paul, with what you have to give us right now? You don't have to
Yes,
talk a lot.
no, that's fine. The oral surgeon did some stitching. The question I had to Savory was, they were talking about assisting with the functionality of a timeline.
Yes.
And I didn't know if you've had further discussions with them, whether there's going to be graphics or pop-ups for more details amongst that. We can talk offline on it, but that was one thing I wasn't quite sure on.
I thought we talked to them about graphics being the at least at the beginning stage, the satellite photos.
Oh, okay.
That would relate to the timeline. As you scroll through, you would
Yeah.
see a satellite photo from that date.
And I didn't know whether you had further discussions or not with them
No,
since.
I have not
the
spoken
last-
to anybody
Okay.
since our Friday or our Zoom
Okay.
call on the 28th.
Okay.
I was,
Paul, if you-
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Paul, if you want to just jot down some questions and send them to Savory, in
Yep.
the event that he pulls together a meeting at the last minute, he'll have them and we can get
Yes.
those answers.
Yep.
Anything
Thanks.
else?
No, I don't think so. Just a busy time.
It is. For the update on the proposed zoning bylaws, I got an email from Elaine just a little while ago because I was trying to make sure that they were formatted correctly because they came back and I had to reformat them. And she said that they're all set and they're fine and they're in. So now it's just a matter of KP Law doing the review. And we can start watching the planning board for expected time frame for the public hearings. There will be one public hearing on these bylaws, which I think we should advertise pretty well. When we get the date, it should be somewhere in March, maybe the first half. And be prepared to present them as ours, but sponsored by the planning board. Yeah.
Don't we have to meet with them prior to that?
Oh,
Similar to
God,
what we-
yes.
Yeah, okay,
That's-
so I mean,
that's-
they're
that's-
meeting
more
next. They're
They are
meeting next.
meeting on the
on
11th.
the 11th, Yeah. And also the 25th, so
Okay,
we should probably get in front of them one of those two meetings.
yeah, I was gonna check with you. That's like 2 more down on the agenda.
Oh, okay. I'm playing along at home.
Sharon, can we get a can you send us a copy of those articles?
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Okay, thanks.
I'll make a note. Send, they're the last ones that we saw that have been reviewed. And they just took out some, side comments and things like that.
Okay,
So send, but I will send those off to you.
okay, because the minutes that we had for the previous meeting, everything I had was like junk, so.
I know. Well, they got rid of the junk for me. 'Cause
Okay,
I got rid of some of it, but I wasn't entirely sure what they were looking for, because when I cleaned it up and sent it to them as a clean copy, it wasn't what they wanted.
oh,
So, but once we had them in originally, this was just a matter of fixing the format, and now they can go on with the rest of them.
all right, no problem.
I don't know if everybody was able to see the select board presentation that Sabri and I did on the 21st with Chief Weston. If you haven't had a chance to watch the select board meeting, please do so and check out what we had to say. I think it was a really good presentation. Chief Weston actually read his mitigation agreement as it stood, which kind of surprised me. I wasn't sure he would do that, which I don't know. Has everyone seen it? But it talks about the benefits that Hillwood is willing to give to the town as far as, $1.7 million for a ladder truck and training and the entire package. Sabri, what did it come out to? Like almost $7 million?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty big.
It was pretty big. And we were able to hear some of the concerns of the select board members. I think all of them chimed in with specific concerns and where we kind of stood with all of them. Sabri was able to handle most of the questions because he's so much better at it than I am.
Three of the 4 select board members were concerned about traffic.
Yep.
One of them was concerned only about the emergency services being happy with what they were getting.
Yep.
And then there was one who really didn't have any comment.
Yep.
So traffic is definitely an issue.
Yes.
But we somehow have to separate that from the zoning change. And I don't really know how to do that. The only way to do that is to say that if the traffic's gonna happen, whether or not you pass it. There's gonna be traffic.
Maybe there, I don't know. I don't know if we can do, like I'd mentioned this in some of our discussions about perspectives of this is what this might look like and this is the kind of traffic it would draw. But that you might get the person that says, well, that's not bad. If there's 80 Walmarts there. I don't know, because traffic will play to the people who are sitting in the seats at town meeting. And whatever answers or mitigation that we come up with is going to apply only to the up and down vote of the zoning articles. Again, as Sabri keeps indicating, it's not it's not a yes or no on this project. It's just a yes or no on having control of what is being built there on this particular project. I don't know. You ever work cut out for
The only way to
us?
like do something there is you'd have to be able to present the potential negative of losing control as more problematic than the traffic. Like take it to the extreme, right? Like make it up. If one of the things that could go in as of right was like a coal power plant, okay, well, nobody would want that. And that's probably worse than traffic, right? I'm not saying something like that, that's easy mode is out there, but we have to find a way to shift the narrative away from trucks rolling down the street, which are going to happen either way. I mean, think about it. If it's a hotel, there's going to be guests. If it's a truck depot, which I think it can be as of right, that might be worse.
Well,
But
that was brought up.
what's that?
That was brought up today. Sarah Hewins brought up the traffic issue today, and she offered up. She said, "Well, you know, if it was a medical facility, then you're not going to have all the trucks." And then I waited a little while till and the conversation came around to that again, and I brought that up, and I said basically, you know, I referred back to Sarah, and I said Sarah said a medical facility, and I said that's an allowable use. And that's fine, but there's not going to be a medical facility that's 1.8 million square feet of footprint. So even if it's 200,000 square feet, which is a big facility for a medical facility, I said that there is still 1.6 million square feet that's going to be built of something else. That's what's allowed there. That's what the developer is going to sell. So, you know, what we need to do is we need to kind of make sure that people realize that it's going to be something and it's probably going to have traffic associated with it. Do we want to be able to somehow control how that traffic works, or are we going to allow something in here that doesn't have any restrictions at all, and then it becomes a free-for-all and we have no say whatsoever? And you know, one of the other things is that, I mean, it requires a special permit, but that area could be a landfill again. And, you know, waste management is always looking for big parcels.
Oh, my gosh.
And, you know, they could come in
Nationwide.
and dangle a huge monetary carrot in front of George and Route 44. And if, you know, if this thing doesn't go through with the distribution center, George is going to take the money and run. And the next thing you know, not only do we have trucks going through town, but they're garbage trucks. And I've been behind a few in the middle of summer. They're not fun. And one of the things, again, that I have to commend the fire chief today. He brought up something that I had not thought of, and I mentioned this to Sharon earlier. Talking about the traffic thing, he said, you know, there are, you know, if this thing doesn't get built in Carver, it could get built in Middleborough. And those same trucks are going to go through Carver, and we have nothing to say about it. And he said, you know, 15 or 10 years ago, there was going to be a casino in Middleborough.
Mhm.
And
Just gonna say
that property is still available.
Mhm.
That property is still for sale. And it's going to be simple for someone to go in there and put in, you know, 1 million square foot or 1.5 million square foot distribution center. And those trucks, they'll go through Carver too. And we have no control over them. So,
You know what I'm wondering? I'm wondering if it's possible, you know, we're thinking about, there's a lot being said about the fire chief and his mitigation strategy, but I'm wondering, is it possible to potentially, you know, Pat and I talked with Chief Dufley a while back, is it possible to get him to sort of weigh in on some of the various things that could go in? Like if he's got a concern about not being able to put up some kind of checkpoint for trucks, he probably also has similar concerns about some of the other things that could go in there. Like if it was a hotel, I remember one of the things we talked about with him in that conversation was he said, that's a totally different story. It creates all sorts of other policing issues. And right now, Hillwood's willing to put up money for emergency services. If Holiday Inn put something up as of right, they don't have to give us anything. And it's almost like if we had something we could say, yeah, we get it, we're concerned about A, but if B happens, here's another subject matter expert in town who has these concerns about other things that could happen. Don't be in a position to get stuck with those.
I agree with you 100%. It's a very, very sharp edge walking that line
Mhm.
between what could happen and making it a threat.
Yeah, fair,
You know,
true.
you don't want to say, well, you know, if you don't do this, this is what you're going to get.
Sure, the
people have to
connotation's important.
We need to make sure people understand the benefits of this as opposed to the detriments of something else. I
Right,
think that's the best way. We can always put out there that these are the things that are allowed by right. And if one of these things is built, everything else goes away. Everything that's on the table now is a benefit. They go away. And these are services, this is equipment, these are all things that the town is going to need, but now all of a sudden it's going to be on our dime. So, you know, that's kind of where we have to go. But, you know, what we have to also emphasize is that this vote is for the zoning changes only. There is
Only.
still the special permitting process where all of these other things get addressed. The zoning bylaw does not have anything to do with traffic. A 1.8 million square foot warehouse, whether 65 or 40 feet tall, it's going to have a lot of trucks. It's as simple as that. You know, the trucks are going to be there if that's what's built. Right now, 40 feet, they can probably do a lot with it. They'd still need a special permit, but if they don't get the zoning change, then they proceed with a 40-foot building and it goes through the special permitting process. And there may be some kind of mitigation, but there are other things that may disappear, other benefits to the town that may be taken off the table.
Can I say a few words?
Yes.
Sure.
Few words. First of all, that traffic, I live here in this area. I know all about that traffic. With the proper lights working, you can come off from the Plymouth side. Well, first of all, let's start with Route 58. There must be something that we can do legislatively or otherwise so that we can prohibit those trucks. They only can go east-west. They can't go north-south, number one.
Route 58 is a state road. It is totally unregulated in that respect. You are not allowed to say who can or cannot use that road. It's a state highway.
Well, you know, maybe we can draw something up legislatively. I don't know. I don't want to get hung up on that one, but at that intersection coming off the 44 exit, that exit there, with a proper traffic light, whether there's one in front of Shaw's or Norrie's, or right in front when you get off 44. Some people, what they want to do is they cross and they get into that little pathway and they sit there. I wouldn't want to see a truck doing that, obviously, but those signal lights have to be controlled and controlled properly. The problem is when you go past Shaw's and you come to the intersection of 58 and 44s, that's where I would have to turn left. That arrow to go left, it never works very well. It's always out. So somebody needs to address that. And here's the other thing. When a traffic light goes yellow and you're trying to go left, you're going to get into an accident because that other person coming that way sees it yellow. It's not going to go fast. And the proof of that is I just had that. I wasn't in the accident, thank God, but that actually happened. It's that area where the Cranberry Grow, Deacon's, or whatever you call that area in Lakeville area. I mean, it was a tragic accident, but that's obvious. So it's very, very important for MIPA, and I don't understand why we're not looking at that traffic study that they had already done. Are they doing another one, or is the one that's already out there? Because I remember, Savory, one of the select board wanted to know about the traffic study, and you said go on our website to look at the MIPA. What's different about it that we don't have strong opinions about the traffic So when you're speaking about the traffic, you should have strong opinions about what's going to happen. What's wrong?
I-
Why don't we
I-
have them?
Because we don't know what's going there.
Well,
and
didn't the MEPA study, didn't it tell us what was going there?
It did, but it had a range of traffic. It had a range, and the range between low and high numbers was pretty big. And that just raises more questions. When you say it could be between 300 and 500 trucks a day, that's a big difference. That's
If you
almost
have,
double.
let me ask you a question. If you have the proper traffic lights controlling the different patterns, I don't care how many cars or trucks come off that highway, and it's properly controlled, then what's the issue?
The issue is trucks going down 58.
Mm.
Trucks going down Route 58 24 hours a day, because people live close to the road and they're going to hear these trucks day and night. That is going to be the issue. It's not so much the intersection. That intersection's bad already without anything up there. So definitely there's going to be some kind of change there. They're going to put in lights there. The MEPA study even has the drawing of what they're proposing for there. So I think that we talked to Hillwood about that, and the MEPA study said that after a little while of seeing how this project bore out, then they would make recommendations as to what to do with the traffic lights. We've told Hillwood that we thought that they should be a little bit more proactive about that and get in order to make it appear or not appear, make it that they are really concerned about this moving forward, that they should challenge the state to start making changes to that intersection now, so the traffic patterns are fixed before the first truck rolls into that place.
That's absolutely correct. And that you can say that when the governor went over to that rotary circle down in 44, and how many years did we struggle going around that Middleborough rotary circle? And they finally, somebody came in and fixed it correctly with, I don't know how much money it cost, but they fixed it correctly. The way you have different patterns and we are able to go continually. So they need to fix it. I mean, I visit my husband every day at the life care and unfortunately at the hospital sometimes. Those new little rotaries that you got to go around. I don't know if you've been down there, but you should go and see what they've done. So the pattern, pattern is controlled. So MEPA should not be able to wait. They should not be able to. They need to be more proactive. You're absolutely correct. That's where our strength is going to be. Show our people in our town that this is where we are. We're not being sit back, wait. Get them going now. It's a pain in the butt now. I don't care if nothing ever goes in there. That's a bad traffic situation, and it needs to be fixed.
MEPA makes the recommendations as to what should happen there. MEPA does not fund it.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Where does the money come from? And I agree. I agree with you. And as you said, you don't care what goes, or you don't care if nothing goes in there. It still needs to be fixed.
That's
and I
right.
agree with you. But if nothing goes in there, something's going to go in there. But if nothing were to go in there, it wouldn't be fixed. Not for a long time, probably. Because it just it's been fine the way it is, and without.
Maybe we need to get Pacheco on board. Maybe we need to start talking politically. One thing about the town administrator, Malinsky, he was very political. He went to Boston a lot.
He did, but that.
And I'm not giving him praise for that, but I'm just telling you, we need to get off our seats and start doing something proactively if we're going to do something. That's bad. Everybody talks about it.
I would say that people who live in Center Carver and South Carver and don't go north, who do their shopping in Wareham, they could care less about that intersection. What they don't want are trucks going by their house at 4 a.m. So.
Are you telling me they're going to go north-south? That's 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, they can.
Well, something legislatively, I don't care about 58. There's got to be some different issues. This is the 21st century. What you're talking to me like the 19th century. Come on, let's go.
No, Joanne, it's a county road. It's a state highway.
It's a
I don't
state
care what
highway.
it is.
a
Laws
state highway.
change. Laws can be made, laws can be broken, laws can be changed.
Well, they can be
Well,
Somebody
broken.
needs, if
we
we don't
start
have anybody
today-
on our side.
If we start today, maybe we'll get it done in 10 years.
All right, well, I
I don't want to
think-
stay on here, but that, I live here, I'm in that traffic pattern. I hear Sarah and Bob who the other girl, Jen, whatever. And, it's just a pain in the butt and it needs to get fixed, period. And I'll be repeating myself again. I don't care what goes in there or nothing goes in there. That road needs to be fixed. Whoever designed it that way is wrong.
Well, I think what has to happen is it has to be fixed prior to something going in there, and it has to be fixed regardless of what goes in there.
Absolutely. That's
The
my
question
point.
is, who helps pay for that? Is it the developer because it's part of what they need to get that, the warehouses done, or does it become the state and the town? Because the developer is building what he has to do by right and doesn't have to give the town anything. So I think that's really where the question comes. And I think that less than the majority of people who are concerned about traffic are concerned about that intersection. The people who travel it daily, yes, they're concerned about it, but the people who don't go there often, their concern is going to be trucks going through the middle of town.
Well,
Going south
the majority of people live in North Carver. Believe me, the population of North Carver is very large compared to South Carver. So the majority of our taxpayers live here in North Carver.
Okay, that's not, I mean, we're getting off point.
We're getting
right
off track, but
now.
you
Yeah,
know,
so,
there's
so,
definitely some things that need to get
no,
done.
there's definitely some things that need to be either, mitigated or understood or investigated. And, like Savory says, a lot of it depends on what's going to be there versus what the traffic will be. I know people who live on Main Street, South Main Street, say they see Cisco trucks all the time and going down from 44 to catch 495 off Tremont Street. And the Cisco trucks were never supposed to come through the center of Carver, but we had no, ability to negotiate that.
Right, and
Okay.
the larger or the more, the larger corporation that goes into this distribution center, the more likely it is that they will have their own fleet of trucks. In which
Right.
case, an order of conditions with the tenant can force that issue where they demand that their own corporate drivers go east-west, and we could make that an order of conditions through the special permitting process. It may not have much sway with the independent drivers who might be delivering things to the distribution center from manufacturers, because those won't be company-owned trucks. But even if it takes away half of the trucks, or the possibility of half the trucks, then that's what that's a benefit. But if you get a smaller situation where there's a smaller warehouse and a lesser financed
A lesser tenant,
a tenant,
the-
yeah,
the
it's-
Bob's discount,
yeah, or if you
Ocean
have that,
Safe.
if you
you
have
know.
that distribution center split into 10 distribution centers for 10 small-time companies that need to distribute stuff, they're going to hire independent drivers, and then they'll have no control over where they go. So again, there's a potential benefit, and I use the word potential because we don't know. There's a potential benefit, again, for having a high-end client there or tenant there, so that we can put in the order of conditions how they have to manage their own truck employees.
There's also the possibility that those trucks have to be registered in Carver.
You better make that more of a possibility. You better make it gonna happen. That's a lot of money, honey.
I understand that.
A lot of money.
Um,
And that's one of the Cisco people. That's one of the residents who live around there told me that was a faux pas. That they didn't mandate that to be registered to the town.
Well, we will not be faux pasing, I don't think. Let's move on, because we are not going to solve the traffic problem tonight.
Right.
The next item I have is discussion of meetings with the planning board, North Carver Water District, Police Safety, and Select Board. I think it's time that we start breaking into smaller groups and having smaller discussions. If we go to 3, then it's a public hearing. But I think that we can do smaller groups, like, I think it's imperative that one of our groups reach out to Chief Dufley at this time and just hear what he has to say. Well, Hillwood plans on getting in touch with him soon. Savory doesn't think it's time to talk to the North Carver Water District. They have a meeting on the 10th, but we should get in front of the planning board. We've been in front of the select board. And what about talking to either Tom Walsh or Mike Ryan?
That should happen as well.
Yeah,
Again, we have to
It's Tom Moran.
focus on the zoning changes
right.
and what impact the zoning changes will have, and not get into the what ifs that
Right.
must be addressed at the special permit stage. And we can't have all the answers until we know how big the building is, or can be. And that's, Sarah said, the chicken and the egg thing, and that's
Yeah,
what it is.
That's what, but the thing of it is that if we choose to, if town meeting chooses to grant the zoning changes, a prospective developer can always go lower as of right. I mean, they can. I think we've negotiated those zoning changes to the best of our ability, with including in the height, any rooftop, service, things like solar or air conditioning units or anything like that's included in the 65. So it can always be what it is now. But if we go to the 65, then we have the opportunity to go better. So that's where the egg is. That's the way I see it.
Right.
I mean, it's either a regular chicken egg or maybe a golden egg. I don't know. So, but
Right.
that's, we'll never know. I mean, like the special permitting process, maybe they don't go to 65. But
Well, they said 54, 55 is what they're expecting.
yeah, right. So I'll go to the planning board. I'll see if they can get me on the 11th for a discussion point only.
Okay.
If anyone wants to come with me, they can. I'll let you know what date I get.
I'd
the North
like to. I'd like to. It's
Jamie,
already
I
on
don't know
my,
I don't know what I'd do if you weren't sitting there to my side.
it's already on my calendar.
Pat, you have a good relationship with Chief Dufley, right?
Yes, in fact, Paul Costas and I had met with him before a while back. We can do that again.
Yeah,
If that's,
for sure.
I think it's time to make a phone call to him. And just get inside and see what his, off the record, see what his thoughts are. Like I said, Mac Utsi said he would be getting in touch with him, but sometimes that's, when I say getting in touch, I think it's going to be by the end of the week. It may be 2 weeks. So he said he would definitely reach out, and I will talk to him tomorrow.
okay, I can talk to the police chief, and then Paul, what worked out good before is you had a connection for us to have a little, it wasn't Zoom, but that worked out well. So I'll get a hold of the chief and I'll get some time frame from him.
Okay,
And then I'll let you know, and then let's see if the three of us can do this. Okay,
Sounds good.
and what about, go ahead.
thank you.
I was wondering if you wanted to, when you reach out to the chief, because the chief was there today and the chief certainly was inclusive of Mike Ryan and Tom Walsh at the other emergency services. So I'm wondering if you want to, when you're talking to the chief about setting up the meeting, if you want to give him the opportunity to ask the other two members of emergency services to join him. And that
I
would
will
be
do
Mike and Tom.
I
That
will
way
do that.
you'd get all three at the same time. They could talk amongst themselves and you guys would be there to hear everything all at once, as opposed to having
Yeah.
3 individual meetings.
Okay, we
Good idea.
can do, we'll do that.
I mean, it's some things, like, I don't even know where emergency services and management would be thinking of a project, you know, a project of this size, what could come up. You know, the police chief pointed out that we only have, what, 2 officers on at night? And if there's an incident up there, that's 1/2 of our active police force. And they're gonna run 24/7.
Right. What the police chief said was, based on the size of this facility, that it most likely will be the second most populated building in town after the middle high school at any given time. So, and he said that he's sure that there are going to be calls for injuries, on the job injuries. There are going to be calls for fender benders in the parking lot. And he brought up the fact that EMS is going to have to, you know, be available to answer these calls. If there are, you know, anywhere between 300 and 500 or even more employees there at any given time, that's a lot of people, and accidents happen. So, you know, he was quite clear on that, and so was Tom Walsh. He was, you know, saying, but there are that many people, you're not going to get away scot-free. There are things that are going to happen, because that's how life works.
And
So-
we need their, you know, now that, and I was telling Savory this, my kind of mental style of this was that we get to formatting the zoning changes, so at least we know what sort of kind of animal we might be dealing with. We had to get the chief on board right away, and now we need to talk to police safety and fire. I mean, police safety and emergency services. Because they're gonna look at it from their perspective, and if they need help with that, we can probably get them help with that, but they certainly have the expertise to evaluate a building this size of X number of employees potentially. What does that mean in terms of, like you say, Savory, fender benders, and calling a police car up because, you know, a truck backed into a car, or vice versa. So those all need to be addressed, and kind of the sooner we bring them on board, the quicker we get information that we're going to need for town meeting. We have to be able to answer these questions.
Right.
So if Paul and Pat, you can take the lead on that.
Yep.
And
we
maybe
can.
by the time we set our next meeting, maybe something will come, they'll have some information for us. And what about the select board? Do we need to go back to them? Should we start meeting with them individually? How do you feel about that?
Let's see where these other meetings lead,
Okay,
because they're going to know about the other meetings.
one of the things, going back to the meeting on the 21st, Mr. Belbin wanted to know if the Aubuchon hardware store section was subject to the 65 height increase, and Savory was very quick to answer him the next day that it was not. So I want to make sure that everybody got that out there. Anything else on Montello Street?
Yes, one thing. We need, and I talked to you about this on the phone, Sharon. We need
Okay.
replenishment
Oh, right.
of
Right.
our fund, because
Yep.
Pat, did you get the email that I sent that included Paul's
Yep,
invoice
yep.
for December?
I have everything.
Okay, we have not gotten an invoice yet from Stephen Cole. But I know that we're probably well over $10,000 into the 20,000. Is that about right? Right now, Pat?
With the bills that I have right here, that'll get checks written this week, we will be about halfway through the $20,000.
Okay. Well, and we are about the same place on our $20,000 that the fire chief is on his. So he's going to be reaching out to Hillwood to get replenishment for his fund.
Yep.
And at about the same time that we are. So I asked Sharon to give the fire chief a call so that we can combine forces and just send, here's where we are on both of our replenishments, but they both need to get done simultaneously.
Already
So-
done.
Okay,
so
we've
that's-
got, do you have any idea when Stephen Cole is gonna send us something? And
He said-
the other thing about it is, I think we've got a $20,000 bucket of money. And I don't think Hillwood is gonna go beyond the 20. So, but we may have to replenish that 20 several times also.
Yeah, and they know that.
So we're gonna, what I want to try to avoid is getting into a situation where if we go beyond the 20, I mean, we've got some funds available of our own in there. I'd like to avoid this little, borrowing, internally type of thing. I think if Stephen Cole could work with us on how he wants to invoice. Like, in other words, if he wanted to give us one right now for, $9,000 or $10,000 range, we could do that. And that could be part of our initial, when I ask for a reimbursement, because the 20 would be almost all taken up. What I really don't want to see is, like, from Stephen Cole getting a $40,000 bill.
Right. I understand that. I don't think you will, but I think that, we should probably work this like sort of Easy Pass does. That if we go below a certain amount, we automatically tell Hillwood we need more.
Yeah, well, with Hillwood, what we have to do is the reimbursement process, and it goes through MAC anyway. And the reimbursement process is we have to provide our receipts
Yep.
Mhm.
I get that.
to him. So I've got them all from Paul Kelly. Thank you, Paul. He gave me, I just wanted to make sure that I had all of them, and I do. And I've got a couple more checks that I'm going to write tomorrow, and that'll put us about halfway through.
That's what I figured.
20,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more than halfway through the 20. So if we got and I don't know, I don't mind. Should I call Stephen Cole, or does somebody else want to call Stephen and kind of
I'll check.
coordinate?
I'll check with him tomorrow and I'll copy you on the email and then I'll call him anyway. He said he would invoice us once at the end of every month.
Okay, and I just want to make sure, but I'd like to see that as something that we could handle it at
Okay.
any point in time. We can work with him on that, but then again, if we have to, we can we can do some internal transferring if we really have to. I don't want to do that, but if we had to, we could.
Pat, are you set up for an electronic deposit from Hillwood now?
We can do electronic deposits now, yes. So
Okay.
the first one, and that was by my choice,
Right,
to take a paper check. And
Okay,
that's how we initially did it. And in fact, Joanna was the one that deposited it. But at this point, we certainly can do the electronic. When I ask for the reimbursement, I will tell them we want to do an electronic deposit. Yeah.
okay, so you want to reach out to Mac yourself as treasurer with receipts, and then I'll make sure that you get Stephen calls by the end of the week.
Yeah, but it can't be more than like $9,000.
I'll tell
At least this time around.
At least this time.
Another month, maybe it could be 15 or 18, but this month, let's keep it at around 8 or 9. Yeah.
Okay, so you will handle, I'll get the invoice from Stephen, and then you will handle contacting Mac.
Yes. I already
Okay.
got that. I made sure Rick set that up before he left.
Okay, great. Great. Okay. Hard to believe, but an update on 94th Street.
Oh, that's my turn, I guess.
You're- I did find out that Jack Williams had signed the release,
Oh, good.
and Joe Martin has it, so we can scan it, get a copy of it. She was gonna put it, I think, in our drawer or hang on to it for us. But he did sign the release, so the $5,000 is ours now.
Okay.
I'd have to check to see how much of that went to legal fees. The plan is now to go ahead and market it again. Did we talk about getting an appraisal from Brenda Titus?
Yeah, Brenda Titus, I had a conversation with her, and she said, I'm just going to read this for the 90 Forest Street. She said, my understanding is that this lot is in the general business district. It was issued a variance by the zoning board to allow for less street frontage. She's saying this variance expires in June 2022, which is right. A new buyer for this lot would have to complete permitting for his or her use by that date, which is unlikely given the time frame. That's how she looked at that. The lot would be more marketable if that variance was extended by the RDA to allow a more realistic time frame for permitting to be completed. The other option, she's stating, would be to consider a contingency for extension of the variance to be a buyer's responsibility upon signing an agreement to purchase with the RDA. I think that's wrong. Doesn't she mean us, the seller?
Well, we cannot extend the variance. You get one extension of a variance and that's it. According to chapter 40A, section 10. So we would have to reapply for the variance, go through the whole process again. Notify the abutters, appear before the zoning board. But we would have to do that.
Okay, so if we made that part of a P&S, the contingency that we, the RDA, would do it, that probably be more palatable rather than that person, going forward, doing all that other, zoning board, et cetera, et cetera. That would be my recommendation. Let me keep going here. She's got a few more statements. However, this makes the lot less desirable and likely worthless, as the burden and risk are an added burden to the buyer with no guarantee the lot is buildable. So, okay, that's something that I believe we just talked about. And then she says, we had discussed previously the possibility of a residential duplex allowed in the GB district by special permit. I thought there could be more of a demand and a quicker permitting process. She says, I'm not sure how the variance was issued and this would be allowed. If I remember correctly, the variance said commercial only.
No, the variance doesn't work that way.
Oh,
Variance is good for the lot. So
didn't it say commercial only?
it's because the lot's never been built on that the zoning for that district changed. So anything that's gonna be built on has to have the variance
Okay,
of it's street frontage.
okay,
So,
150 foot, okay.
yeah,
What is the committee's flavor for discussing possibility of a residential duplex? Allowed in the not green, yeah, the green business. In the general business district by special permit.
are you asking if the RDA wants to build a duplex?
No, I'm asking if you agree with what she said, she's stating. I don't have any flavor for that. I mean, that's typically commercial right now. I mean, up and down that street is all commercial. I can't imagine putting up a residential duplex.
That's up to the developer.
That's up to the developer. If we're not gonna
What-
control the development, then I really don't know what her question is.
Yeah,
Okay,
feeling
she's just saying it's the general business district by special permit. I guess that's what would have to happen.
That's the planning board.
That would have to go to the planning board, right?
Yep.
So I guess, well, first of all, we're opening the RDA is opening the door now because the paperwork has all been signed, right? For allowing that particular piece of property to go back on the market, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The second is how I feel, as Sharon said, it's going to need a variance. How does the committee feel that we would be a part of getting that variance for whoever was interested in buying that property? It would make it more palatable. That's my opinion. And she would be telling that to the people that, whoever, that the RDA is willing to go forward on the variance.
I would say on the listing that it has a variance good until 6/30/22. And that if necessary, the RDA will reapply for the variance.
Okay.
Does everybody think that's okay? I mean,
yeah, whatever we need to do to get rid of that property.
exactly.
Agreed.
Okay, and that, as far as her idea of discussing the possibility of a residential duplex,
That's up to the buyer.
that's up to whoever, if that's up to
Yeah,
whoever.
That's not,
for us to
that-
say.
no, the buyer can look at the use table or go to the building department as easily as anybody else can.
So
And
so Sharon, let me just ask a question for me. You stated the variance is good till June 30th of 2022.
that's according to an opinion we got from KP Law.
Okay, so that variance, because it's in the general business district.
Yep.
Could also apply for a residential duplex, not necessarily commercial.
Joanna, it's whatever the builder wants to do with it, or the buyer wants to do with it.
I'll take the blame for that, because when I spoke with her, I remember seeing the variance saying commercial only. So I spread that word, but I can retract it. That's not an issue. I'll retract
I'll
that.
go back and read the decision, but I don't remember it saying that, but
Well, if you could do that for me before I open my, whatever, about it, I would prefer that. I mean. if
I
it's-
can do that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Well, that's 90 Forestry.
So does she want to enter into a contract to market
Yes,
this?
right. I'll go back and tell her that. Savory, I think Savory, we had a contract with her, didn't we, when you had to go and break it?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Okay, we'll do it.
And did she set any kind of an appraisal price, or is she gonna do that then?
I didn't get into it with her on that appraisal price.
Okay,
Obviously, I was looking at the assessor card. The assessor card is really marketed for, I think it's way over 10,000 more than it was before, so it's gone up, no doubt, not about it. So,
it's gone up because of the abutting properties.
yeah, well, also, well, it's just the market itself, that's it. So, the question you had was the appraisal gonna be?
Is she gonna set an appraisal price or a market price, or we had it on the market for what, 165 last time and we accepted 150. That's public knowledge. I would do that
It's up
again.
to, yeah, but it's up to 180 already on the assessor card.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really grown. Okay, so I'll share that with her, but you need some time, before I open this, go back and talk with her. I just want to clarify from you about that commercial, okay?
Okay, I'll look it up as soon as the meeting's over.
Super, thank you so much.
Okay. Is everybody satisfied with that?
Yep.
Whatever it takes. And Joanna
Whatever it takes.
wanted, Joanna wanted a discussion point on the tax title project, property on Roberts Way that was up for auction and was not sold. Joanna, you
Right.
want to give us some background on that?
Yeah, I spoke with Elaine because prior to Rick's leaving, he assured me it would be easy. The property went into Zika's auction, but the town clerk or the town treasurer really didn't get enough money to make it worthwhile. So they said they didn't sell that property. So Kathy Kay, the treasurer, called me or wrote to me and said that if the RDA would like to have that property, we can take it over. She also notified Rick on that opportunity, and he said that he would create an article, which he did do, but it's the most ambiguous article I've ever seen. It's a placeholder by Fin Director / Treasury Collector. It doesn't even come close to the kind of verbiage I'm ever used to seeing. So I'm gonna have to call Elaine tomorrow and find out. I don't know where this all came from. It really doesn't make a lot. I mean, it's not an article that I want to be involved in unless they make it more palatable. It's just,
Wasn't it just an article conveying from the town treasurer to the Board of Selectmen?
it says to well, here, you'll get it. Here, I'll tell you. To transfer custodianship of 2 Roberts Way parcels and it names both of them, from treasurer to select board. We're not even mentioned at this point. But anyway, the next part of it says to request the town accept Mass General Law, yada, 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 so that the funds from unclaimed property after proper procedure, escheat, this is a great word, escheat to the town, to be recorded by the treasurer as general fund revenue for appropriation by the town's appropriating authority for appropriation for any other public purpose. I am highly suspect that this all come from Zekas when they were doing the auction. So I personally will call Kathy Kay tomorrow and have this conversation.
Okay.
Because I pulled some articles from previous, and believe me, the last article that we had, like for Wenham Shores here, that doesn't even come close. So I'll
Okay,
take care of that. I'll be looking at that more closely.
okay. Then you can report back at our next meeting.
I will.
It's either going to town meeting or it's not.
That's correct.
And then the process is that it goes to the select board. And then if we deem an acceptable parcel, because these 2 parcels, assessors map 62, 221 and 222, would need considerable zoning relief in order to become buildable, which may be the reason it didn't sell at auction. But that's something we can discuss later.
Right.
Treasurer's update. I saw a treasurer's report.
Can
which
I
was-
comment? Can I, Pat, before you give the report, I just want to ask you about this. In December, you made a payment to Sue Hannon. Can you just verify that her check was in fact for what you wrote it for? Because when you transferred the money, you transferred it with, a little bit differently. I just want to make sure she's got the right amount.
Well, there were two checks to her. One for 100, one for 300.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not,
Well,
it's
and I-
not Sue.
And
Let
I-
me-
and I
let me-
don't do- and I
No,
don't do
no,
any
no,
tran-
no.
No
I'm wrong.
transfers needed for
Hold
her.
on, Pat. I'm wrong. It's not
Yeah.
Sue. It's the transfer for Paul, PKWIX.
Oh, yeah, I think I transposed a number there.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's check 1284. I just want you to verify that it's the correct amount.
Well, I transferred 262.93 and wrote the check for 263.92. So
That's correct,
there's,
yeah.
there's a 99-cent difference there. And I just realized that today. So,
Okay.
and what was the real number supposed to be, Paul Kelly?
Paul Kelly, 1284 check number.
Yeah, I'll resend it over to you, Pat, one way or another. That's for the web hosting and all of that.
It
That's
was.
basically a direct
I've got-
thing on it. I have it. I don't have it at my
I've
fingertips.
got that someplace, but I transposed a number, so
Right.
there's 99 cents. It's gonna come out in the wash. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
So,
And I have one more thing for you, Pat. If you
Yeah.
look at the very bottom of the treasurer's report, it says, it's got my name as acting treasurer that I submitted it. That's a footer. If you could just go in there and make it Pat Maha treasurer, I'd appreciate it. Or take it
I
out,
don't-
one of the two.
I don't see where that is.
It's a footer. It's in the bottom of each page.
Oh, you mean it comes out printed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do it in the print view to
Oh.
see it.
If
I didn't
you,
even know that. I didn't print one for myself. I didn't even see that.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
Well,
But
we'll-
it's in the Excel spreadsheet. It's in the not the
Okay.
header part, but it's in the footer.
okay, I'll have to go back and do that because I'm gonna start a new one for 2022. So
Okay, just make sure
Um,
you, yeah.
yep.
uh,
we'll get
And make
that.
sure, don't just say Joanna Layton, because I don't want it to be acting Pat Maher. I want to be treasurer Pat Maher.
I will make sure that it says the right thing. How's that?
Oh, I can be a pain in the ass, I'll tell you.
Yes, I can too, you know.
Welcome aboard.
And I don't think we have like a beeper, to flip out bad words.
But, okay, we'll take care of everything, but I transitioned over to a new computer and I'm having a little trouble. So
Oh, wow.
I'm having a little trouble getting all the information off my old laptop onto my new laptop. So I'm working that out. I've got some other things that I need to do. And then when I started the Zoom meeting tonight, I couldn't get the microphone working on the new laptop. So I'm on. So I
We
gotta-
saw that. Yeah, you're on your
I'm back.
iPad.
I'm back to my iPad.
Yeah.
So, but we'll get there. But the treasurer's report, and everybody got a copy of it, but
Thank you.
basically
Yep.
the bottom line, as of 12/31, checking account had 437.10, money market account 29,324.58. Here's the Hillwood account balance 14,937.40 with I don't know, what do we got? 3,024, 5,400 in checks to write. And so that, that leaves under 10,000. So 9,000 from in the 9,000 neighborhood would be good from Stephen Cole. And then in the urban renewal plan account ends up with a balance of 2564.68.
If you let me just make a recommendation. The George McLaughlin, in our earlier agreement with him, if it went below 3,000, they would replenish it. And it would be George,
Yeah, I'll be talking
George
to him next
McLaughlin.
The Route 44.
Yep, Route 44. You just have to make sure he doesn't make checks out to town of Carver, because that happens too frequently with them.
Well, we can have an electronic deposit.
Right. So Sharon, do you have communication with George McLaughlin? Because that's
I
through
do.
Okay. So Pat, she has that communication. So if you wanted to have him replenish whatever.
So, but what would he need to see?
Well, he didn't see anything. He just kind of took my word for it that, we were paying bills legally as well. We've kind of subsided paying any bills. I noticed you have one big new one.
Well, yeah,
Or
there's,
George.
out of that one, we had two bills. There were two invoices from KP Law last time. One we totally owned and one we partially owned, and that came out to the $2193.50.
Exactly.
And that's why, and it was decided at the meeting that that's the account that it should come out of. So I did that. I took it out of there. Obviously, I had to transfer it over to the checking account and write the check out of there. But
So let me ask Sharon.
Come out of there for a long time.
Right here.
The most of the money for this, the one that Pat's talking about, that he had a transfer for legals, I believe were the articles. Now that the articles are complete, is KP Law pretty much withdrawn, or they're going to have some more?
No,
high
the
focus?
KP Law is the one who reviews the article on behalf of the town.
Okay,
So as far as the zoning articles go, KP Law is taking it in from here.
okay, so there will be more legal bills then.
I don't know that we'll get a separate legal bill. I think it's all part of the warrant.
Which the town will pay for.
The town pays for it.
Okay,
That's as Rick just explained it to me, so that we don't need any more. We paid KP Law $1,800 for zoning review at our last meeting, I think.
Okay.
But we're all done paying as far as the zoning bylaw articles go.
okay, so Pat, you just have to be very cognizant of the KP Law bills coming in as you have, because the Mass Works, that 3.2 million or whatever money, which has to be paid by the town, so when KP Law sends that bill in, they'll have so much hours by whatever, so much hours by the articles that, whatever. So you've already caught, I think Savory was the one that looked at the last meeting we had and said, oh yeah, that's the grant money that, that goes back to the town. So that's really how that's going to start coming in like that. I'll
Okay.
tell you. Yeah.
Stephen Cole says he'll have an invoice to us tomorrow.
Oh,
Did he say how much for?
I just asked him for a ballpark.
Pat,
Which you probably can't tell me, but
Pat, my apologies. I missed the ending balance for the savings account.
the savings account was $29,324.58.
Great. Thank you.
Okay,
Give or take 99 cents.
now that's the other
No,
account.
no, that's okay. There's
I
nothing wrong with that one.
That's it. Yeah, I know. Just kidding.
Pat, I did send over to you the invoice in question.
Okay, thank
So
you, Paul.
If that's not it, or if you need something else, just let me know.
I will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, well, I haven't heard back from Stephen yet, but I told him the reason we wanted a ballpark is that we may have to ask for more money. Okay, so we're all set with that, and I will get that invoice off to Pat as soon as I get it. And then if we need a further discussion on asking for more funds, you and I can have it, Pat.
Okay, and just to finalize this discussion on the transposition and so forth that I did, Paul did send me the the invoice, and it is for the 263.92. So the check is correct.
Okay, good.
It is my transfer was 99 cents off. So we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
So glad we're not going to jail.
Yeah.
Eddie's
All right.
coming.
The minutes, I had a bit of a discussion with Sue today about the minutes, and I am a little bit behind on, we've approved them, and I'm a little bit behind on uploading, and she is going to, I sent her the list with the exception of Paul Costa's minutes, which I still have.
Oh, my God. Give those to her, will you please? Unleash yourself.
They're right
Dan,
here.
can you get those to me? Like, can you get them to Jill or something so I can pick them up?
Yeah,
Paul's minutes,
Yeah.
yeah, get rid of them. Give them to her.
look close.
Oh, she'll do it. She'll do
I mean,
it.
it might not be as detailed as what Paul intended, but at least if we get a recap in there.
That would be awesome. Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I won't scan them because it may come out not quite as clear.
Yeah. if
But
it's all right,
if
I'd
I-
rather
You
just-
can't make them come out clear, Sharon. That's my handwriting is bad enough. There's no help there.
Can-
But
Could your
Sue,
husband drop those off to Jill? That would be great.
I'll drop, how about if I can't drive, but I'll have Ron bring them up tomorrow morning to Jill
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be,
with your name on it. Would that be okay, Sue?
Yeah, that's fine.
And,
Sue, you could just copy and paste the Forest Street from any other agenda. Forest Street discussion.
I don't know where we were. I forgot which ones these were, August. But
yeah.
it was the meeting where we didn't have Sue and it also was not filmed. Something that has been rectified beautifully. And so our next meeting, Sue will have several sets of minutes that I will get out to you. Or she will get out to you because she is far more reliable than I am. And you must review them so that we can approve them. Okay, so we're getting there, but
Is she gonna be
I-
updating updating the website too?
no.
Who's gonna
Oh,
do
she's
that?
gonna,
Yeah.
she's gonna upload them. She's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
upload them and everything for me.
Okay.
Not that I want to stop discussing minutes, but do we vote on the treasurer's report?
Oh, do we have to?
Don't we usually?
We can. I make a
Okay.
motion that we approve the treasurer's report with the noted correction of 99 cents on the report.
Second.
So,
Is there a
second,
second? And
Second.
since it's Zoom, I will roll call. Joanna Layton,
yes,
Savory Moore,
Savory Moore says aye.
Paul Costas,
Aye.
Pat Maher,
I
and Sharon Clark says aye, so it is unanimous. Thank you, Sue. Members' comments?
can I just say on the minutes that our minutes here, we're not gonna approve them, but the ones she just gave us today, I just want Sue to know that Savory is a vice chair, not more than a member.
He's actually like,
Joanna? Oh, as far as for attendees you're talking about?
Yeah, that's correct. He's the vice chair. Savory's a vice chair, not a member.
Geez,
Well, I mean, he's a
Savory,
member and a vice chair.
You know, it's come full circle, Savory. In the beginning, when I first started doing these, remember I used to say Mr. Savory?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's because that's what Will said.
Oh, really?
yeah,
Maybe, so we can blame him. That's good.
Yeah, Will called me Mr. Savory all the time.
He still makes me say that.
I do have a response from Stephen Cole to go back to it. He said, the low end is 3, the high end would be 5. But we still have to get some things from PAC TV. So we still have enough money and we can, with anticipated costs, we can ask Hillwood for more.
Yes.
So set our next meeting. And remember, in between times, Paul and Pat are gonna try to meet with the police and safety. And Savory and I'll let you know which meeting I can get on the agenda for an update and a discussion of the zoning bylaws with the planning board. So
Right, and I expect that we'll have a meeting with consensus sometime later this week and probably
Yep.
another one next week. The next
Okay.
working group meeting is 2 weeks from today in the morning.
on the
So-
18th,
Yep, so if we wanted to do a meeting on the night of the 18th, then I would have a fresh working group information.
okay, the 18th works for me. How about anybody else?
What,
I'm good.
Everybody good?
Fine. Good
I
with me.
apologize. I will not be able to attend on the 18th.
Fine.
Can you take them from video?
Yep.
You're my hero.
so,
Okay,
so what's that? Could you repeat that again? So I can write it down. The 18th of
Tuesday, the 18th.
January 6 o'clock.
January.
January 18th, 6 o'clock.
Are we doing a town hall or Zoom?
Well, I still will not be mobile yet, so. if
You
it-
know, I hope we do this again. It's easy for me.
I'm
do it
kind
as-
of leaning towards Zoom until this next
Yeah.
COVID rush
Right.
goes out. I mean, I know we have a few members who have concerns and there is no mask mandate right now in town hall. So I'm leaning towards Zoom. In fact, I'm gonna make a executive decision right now, and we will do it on Zoom.
Good, thank you.
And I will contact Area 58 again.
Great.
Is there anything else, guys and lady?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, you're my hero. Is there a
Second,
second?
Here we go.
Second.
Being Zoom, I will ask for a roll call vote to adjourn. Joanna Layton,
Joanna Layton says, what am I saying?
saying aye.
Oh,
Say
yeah,
it.
yes, yes. Yeah.
Savory,
Savory Moore says aye.
Paul Costas,
Paul Costa says aye.
Pat Maher,
Aye.
and Sharon Clark says aye. I thank you very much for all the hard work you guys are doing.